chat. Chat, chat, chat. What is going on? I'm just making sure we're live.
I'd rather spend $3,000. On a
What is good, chat? Welcome, welcome on back. Sorry for the struggle here. Holy cow! I'm trying to get things rolling. Um, anyway, welcome. Just want to make sure all the audio is all good. We perfect.
Welcome on back.
Perfect. All right, chat. We got a lot to talk about. Apologies on the delay. I know it's been a little bit, and obviously no excuse on my end. Just been kind of busy with everything else on the outside, but hey, got a lot to talk about. Obviously, spring game, people coming in, people going, transfer portal, but wanted to kind of start with some hot topics. CU retires Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders jerseys. Now, I'm not going to say that this is the right call. I'm not going to say this is the wrong call. But at the same time, I think that if we had given a couple more years to, you know, Shador and Travis, let them play in the NFL for a couple of years, I think it's fair. So I'm not against this. I completely understand the decision from Coach Prime. I understand that, from a directional standpoint, these two are foundational players in the direction that CU is going. Now, does that necessarily equate to a retirement of the jersey numbers? Probably not. But that being said, it is what it is. I think, iconically, is anybody going to be able to represent number two as well as Shador did for Colorado? You got to think about that from a question standpoint. Is anybody going to be coming in and actually living up to the hype that Shador Sanders had? I I honestly don't think so, because you can't tell me that the Sanders name isn't a controversy point. His quarterbacking skills and abilities, it's impossible for anybody to sit here and say that anybody can come on in and fill the shoes of two. So, do I think it's a great call? Potentially a little bit of a late push. Maybe wait a couple of years after the NFL, but two retiring, fair. Travis Hunter, Heisman Trophy winner. I agree. Probably the right call, but maybe give it a little bit of time. That's all I got to say here. I do think it is a legacy aspect of who's going to be able to even come on in and fill those shoes of 2 and 12. 12 especially, greatest football player of college football ever, arguably. Both ways, Heisman winner. You're just not going to be able to get that. So I do agree with Travis Hunter. I do agree with retiring Shador. I just think it takes a little bit of time to come on in and give them some space. I don't know if anybody was even really going to wear number two for Dion's term, just knowing that was his son's number anyway. But, just a question. Is it too early? Probably. Is it going to be the right call? Yeah. I mean, you're not, nobody's filling those shoes. So just wanted to go ahead and kind of start there. I think it's important to kind of cover. I don't have an opinion, but I do think it's super interesting. It's a very interesting move, especially right after college. 1 year, not even a year. So hopefully, it's always keeping people in the limelight though. So what's new? What's new? But anyway, jumping on into kind of the spring game approach, the ins and the outs. I don't know, man. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I am very curious to see where we go in the transfer portal, what we pick up, who we kind of move away from, and who we kind of continue to improve in and invest in. I know that a couple of people were shocked with the departure of Trevor Woods, and I think that he's a fantastic player, and obviously wish him the best. I would have loved to have had him stay here, but maybe some opportunity as we saw Jeremiah come back and continue to succeed. But I think Reginald Hughes is the person, and I'm segueing off of that because I think Reginald Hughes coming in and being a spot for Trevor to compete against. And after how Nakai Hill Green and Levante Bentley were playing, I just don't think Trevor saw himself providing any sort of additional benefit after that point in the season, after redshirting. And I'm hoping that Reginald Hughes, and I apologize, Reginald Hughes comes on in and provides kind of that similar aspect of, Nakai Hill Green and maybe even a little bit of Levante Bentley. But I wanted to start with that point because I think that Coach Prime is going to be cooking up something amazing here in the linebacker room. I'm really loving what I'm seeing from these guys on well off, but I'm very interested to kind of see what these guys produce on the spring game. Now, obviously, take it with a grain of salt. It's not really going to be that comparative to like game speed. I am excited to see kind of what happens. Obviously, we had some huge things come out today with Isaiah Augustave leaving, as well as Tajay McCoy, who I loved personally. I thought he was definitely a fantastic, development in the program, a building block to kind of keep, some glue piece. A glue piece is what a lot of people like to say. So I'm hoping that, maybe that's just a enter and then re-enter, withdrawal. But hey, I mean, Coach Prime always has a reason for doing what he's doing. So maybe somebody is coming in that's even bigger. And I really love what Quincy is doing on the edge there, and hopefully we can kind of get some depth because I know that last year that was really our biggest issue. Now I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling in and up and down, but I did want to kind of touch on some key points here. Things that I really want to see from the quarterbacks because obviously, let's be honest, it's between Juju and of course Mr. Salter. And from that perspective, we need to take into consideration Mr. Salter has plethora of experience, took Liberty to a 12-0 season. Had it been playoffs at that point in time, would have had a playoff experience. But the reality of the situation is, I think it's just between these two. And if you watched the interview with our offensive coordinator, which by the way, I'm extremely scared to have the same thing kind of occur here again with Pat Shermer. So from the perspective of Pat Shermer's point of view, I understand he wants to say, oh, it's you got to look out for Ryan Stott, but in reality, we know it's between Salter and Juju Lewis, and if it's not, I think I've got a problem because the reality of the situation is these guys are probably the driving force of the team. Brian Staub is not going to be pushing this team in the direction of above 9 wins. And not in a disrespectful way, but it's just, you know, you're coming at it from a place of where were we without Shador. You saw that. You saw what Ryan Stubb was going into, and of course he was going to get there. He was pushing up, but I definitely am excited to see what Caden Salter and Juju Lewis do in the spring game to kind of compete against each other, push each other to the next level. That is going to be a key point for me. Now, I did want to talk about some transfers that I am excited about. Obviously, was really shocked by Nikhai Hill Green leaving to go to Alabama. Obviously, good for him. Got a lot of financial success there. Not not really a competing factor from a Colorado standpoint, but congratulations to him. Wish him the best. Hopefully, he is able to succeed there, and I know he will. He's a fantastic player. But wanted to kind of talk about Jeremiah Otis, who I think is going to be a huge trendsetter on the line, and I'm excited to see kind of what he does for us and his ability to kind of act as a leader, be a leadership in the room. And I think, him and Chidozie probably have that same mentality. Now, Chidozie a little bit lower, a little bit smaller, but both same dog mentality. I'm excited to see what these guys can do and kind of drive that interior of the defensive line forward. Very excited to see how we utilize Jaheim Otis. Now, I did want to go ahead and kind of talk about the two new pickups, Xavier Hill and Sinceris Brown. I do not know how to pronounce that first name, and I apologize, sir. It's the Camels. That's where you're coming from. Now, huge pickup for us in the interior. I'm thinking we're going to utilize him as at the interior. Xavier Hill is a big boy at 318, and they don't make them like that everywhere, but this is the type of recruiting that we are getting into now that we have some bigger spotlights on us now from 9 wins. So I'm excited to kind of continue to see this grow. Obviously, this is a player that I'm expecting to be a one and done, which, hey, totally fair. Get it while you can, brother. Get the spotlight. Especially, I understand Memphis has the backing of FedEx, so that's a little bit more financial, incentive. But coming here, being able to get the national prime time, no pun intended, but this is what I'm interested to see. Right, where are we going to use him most? Because if you've watched the Well Off Media videos, I don't exactly know if we're just switching it up, Gunner's switching it up to see kind of where things are, where things land, to kind of get people acclimated in different situations just for depth purposes. But I didn't see Cash Cleveland all the time at center with Salter. I didn't see, a consistency of Tyler Brown. I'm curious to kind of see, are we going to plug and play him in the interior, or are we going to put him on the outside? So I'm very interested to kind of go ahead and gauge where we put Xavier Hill. I am excited to see, obviously, high school highlights, not super representative of what he's been through at Memphis, but super excited to kind of see what he does coming in. Now, it will be kind of an interesting thing to see whether or not he is going to be attending kind of from a summer ball right away, jumping on in, or we'll wait till kind of that first practice really begins here shortly. So very interested to kind of see how active he is after this commitment as far as getting to CU Boulder and being involved in the team. But I also wanted to kind of highlight a little bit of, you know, what I'm expecting from some of these other offensive line transfers. I definitely am curious to kind of talk to. I've seen where was he? I'm sorry. Mana. This is a player that I am extremely interested in because I got to be honest with you. I did not see a whole lot of Ole Miss games this year, and I don't know if he started, but loving exactly similar kind of six frame build. Loving what I'm seeing here as well. I've watched a lot of him in well off. He looks like he's going to come out, act like a leader as well. So I'm super excited to kind of see how, these guys start to interact. I'm loving the additions that we've been going for portal wise and direction wise. Really kind of starting to see those big 4 5 stars. Kind of the expectation as well outside of that is, hey, you know, can we continue to grow in the run game? And can we continue to grow in the pass protection and reduce the sacks? Now, I will say, Caden Salter, probably one of the more versatile quarterbacks in college football right off the bat. If you've watched a lot of the well off media videos, you will know that I his instinct is 1 2 3 and then tuck and run, which I'm not saying that's every play. I'm not saying that that's his goal all the time. Now, he's way more mobile than Shador, which NFL style typically not as mobile. So I think they were building the offense around Shador there. I'm interested to kind of see if Pat Shermer. I know he mentioned he's going to try to keep a lot of what we did originally this past year, but I'd really love to see us have a little bit more of a flex to allow Caden to kind of be a little bit more versatile and dangerous so the defenses aren't as, a pass focus, and open up that run game for us a little bit more. So that'll be interesting to see. Caden Salter is definitely a quarterback that is run intensive and oriented. Not a whole lot of time in the pocket. Really likes to use his legs when he can. So I will be curious to see how that goes. Now, obviously, hopefully, he's fast enough to slide. I haven't seen a whole lot of sliding, but that's obviously early on. So, key takeaways realistically for upcoming points. I want to see a different offense. I really like. I think we were running some 3 man in the backfield on offense there, which I love, and a lot of fakes. I'm hoping that continues to stay the direction that we go, where we're opening it up and feeding into Caden Salters, and I don't doubt for a sec that Pat Shermer will do so. I just would love to make that a little bit more consistent. So would love to see what happens. Dallin Hayden's looking good. I'm hoping that we get a running back in that feels good. But hey, listen, I'm excited to see what we do this spring game. Juju Lewis, Caden Salter, love what we have working with here. Excited to see what some of these transfers do. I look to see what we can add as well. But hey, chat, we just wanted to take a couple seconds to say, hey, thank you guys for tuning in. I know that it's a little hard to kind of jump on in, but I did want to say thank y'all for tuning in as always. And hey, if you're enjoying this shit, subscribe, smash the like button, tune in. I'm a little fucking lazy sometimes and don't do this shit because I suck at it, but we'll get better. Hey, this is for fun. I just want to talk about the Buffs. I want to talk about you, and I love you. I appreciate you. Goodbye.